Yeah, you're right. People just are very like they get like anxious. Like, oh, that slot is vacant. I need to fill it somehow.
Podcast about sports and not any of that other stuff, because all that other stuff sucks ass. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
I'm wondering why you're looking at your phone.
I was checking the date because today
Twice?
is Thursday, September 5th. 2024. I need to know the date right there at the front of my brain, or else it's just gone, because it doesn't fucking matter. But I say it here at the top anyway, just because. That means it's the launch of the NFL season, Abe. Right now I'm looking at someone called Coco Jones mouth the national anthem, because I am not listening to it. And it's being signed as well, just in case anyone's watching. And closed captioning is not an option for them.
That's a very pretty shot.
What is the deal with the American Sign Language interpreter at events that already have closed captioning? Is it that we not only have deaf or hard of hearing people out there, but that we have illiterate deaf and hard of hearing people out there?
Yes, that's what it is.
That's fucking bullshit. It is too small a percentage of the population to bother with. I'm sorry for your various disabilities. It's too few people to worry about.
I learned this week in school that your not standard deviation, standard deduction is different if you're blind.
Oh, no kidding.
Not so standard after all, is it?
Wait, I'll find the sentence because it's too.
Abe, you don't just have that piece of information.
Seriously, I'm a little disappointed.
I have a need-to-know memory. I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
The amount of the standard deduction varies according to the taxpayer's filing status.
Hey, Lori, this is cast iron balls, for Christ's sake.
Age,
I was trying to talk about some dead kids, and you're like, nope, can't talk about dead kids on a sports podcast.
I saw that it said filing status, age, and eyesight, and then I was like, am I crazy? Like, I looked away and looked back, and I was like, is this a joke? And nope.
Well, you do employ those reading glasses. Maybe you can get a little bit extra off your taxes.
That's what I was wondering, and no.
I'm surprised there isn't, and maybe perhaps there was one and I missed it. Like there isn't like a long write-up about this sign language thing, like at different events.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Right? Because like it's everywhere. Like with presidential events, they were there during the Coachella like 10 years ago when I was listening to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like everywhere,
What do you think Anthony Kiedis is doing up there as he prances about and dances about shirtless and does his arm dancing? That is expressing all that a person would need to know. Explain to me exactly how you ASL gorilla cuntilla. Explain that one to me, ASL experts.
They probably skip it, right? Like if it's like gibberish words, right? I mean, there's no ASL word for it, right?
Coming back, baby, I'll be coming back for more.
There's a whole Reddit about it, so yeah. I'm sending it to you to read.
Oh, nice.
Because I don't want to read it. I want to talk about other stuff.
The NFL kicks off tonight, right now, 20 minutes later than it was supposed to because of inclement weather, apparently, in Kansas City. But we've got the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Abe, I'm going to open up the WGAS sports bag with who you got as Harrison Butker, culture warrior extraordinaire, gets ready to lay into this opening kickoff.
So I think I've made this comparison. It's not an exact comparison because these two players are not alike in any way other than...
Oh, we get to see the new kickoff again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they do the new kickoff.
But Abe was
with
talking.
The graphics.
Yeah.
So Peyton Manning, Lamar Jackson, very similar in their very solid regular season, and then they choke in the playoffs, right? So last year the Ravens did well in the regular season. I think they won 13 games. They made it to the AFC title game, and then they shat their pants and they lost, right? So for them to win tonight would be fitting, right? Like they win on the road. Hey, they're turning a new leaf and they're going to be great, and watch out for the Ravens and they'll win another 12, 13 games. And if they were to find a team like the Chiefs or the Bengals, who I have going all the way, they would find a way to lose, right? It's the Peyton Manning special. So great regular season, shitty postseason. I'm gonna go with the Ravens tonight.
Yeah, me too. I put $10 on this game just a few minutes ago, just to have some interest in it, I guess, like to make it interesting for the show anyway. But I got the Ravens. I think they were 3.5-point underdogs. I took them straight up and said Ravens are going to win this one. So we got a little bit of money riding on
Also,
this game.
I mean, I have a terrible memory, but the Chiefs didn't have a particularly good season last year. They just kind of righted the ship for the playoffs.
Yeah, didn't they lose to the Lions in this same game last year?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I think you're right.
Yeah, they started the season last year with a loss to the Lions. Everybody was like, the Lions are a bunch of frauds. The Chiefs will figure it out. And then the Lions made it to the NFC Championship game and are perhaps the favorites to come out of the NFC this season.
Has a team won 3 in a row in the NFL? Would that be
a three-peat? Not since we've been alive,
right? Because Cowboys didn't
Then
do
it
it. The
doesn't
Patriots
count.
didn't do it.
We've been alive long enough.
Yeah. Maybe the Steelers. I don't know, but yeah, it didn't. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting a three-peat. I think they're in trouble. They've lost some weapons. Mahomes is great, I'm sure, but
The Packers
fuck the
in the
Packers.
60s. It doesn't count. We weren't alive.
Oh, the Packers had 3 in a
but
row.
not a Super Bowl. It was
Yeah.
a combination of Super Bowls and NFL titles, right? I don't think they won.
Kramer's Packers won 3 consecutive championships,
Yeah.
an NFL title followed by Super
Right,
Bowl wins.
right.
Yeah.
I guess that counts still. But
no team has won 3 straight in the Super Bowl era.
there you go.
That makes sense because when the Bulls did the three-peat, it was a big deal that they came up with the phrase three-peat, right? So it hadn't really been a cultural phenomenon at that point.
No one came up with coined the term until the 90s?
No one had done it.
Wow.
I think three-peat was new to the 90s.
Interesting. I'm surprised wow.
Dropping in here in post, just to point out, this conversation jogged my memory. This was a Pat Riley invention, or at least a Pat Riley trademark. They were going to try and sell Lakers merchandise in the late 80s if the Lakers managed to secure 3 championships in a row, making a three-peat. Sadly, they did not accomplish that goal, and so Riley kept the trademark and then licensed it out for the Bulls when the Bulls, just a few years later, managed to accomplish the task. And so Pat Riley, of all people, personally responsible for the infusion of three-peat into the sports culture conversation.
No one's done anything 3 times in a row ever. Till then.
I don't think
I'm
that's
sure
true.
like this.
Till then, no one had done it. They would have come up with 3-peat.
Maybe they just didn't have the imagination to come up with it.
No,
Perhaps
because
they
if you
just-
can do something good 3 times in a row, you automatically have the
It's
imagination.
like repeat again, and then somebody's like, wait a minute, we can combine those two. Three-peat.
All right. Also in the Who Gives a Shit sports bag, I saw a story today that grabbed my interest. The Commanders, this is a headline from the AP, Commanders, a.k.a. the Redskins, fire employee after undercover video showed him disparaging players and fans. Abe, did you watch any of this video?
I did not watch. I read the story, and I found it hilarious. Because this was one of those, that O'Keefe guy, right? From Acorn and other things.
James O'Keefe, he came to prominence, such as it is, back in or thereabouts, when he did some undercover videos of him dressed up as a pimp.
That's right.
In sort of the way that a white suburban kid would offensively imagine a pimp would look, with a woman on his hip, dressed up as a woman of the night.
Yes.
Might be dressed, and they went into the Acorn offices, Acorn being a community organizing group that helped people like register to vote and achieve other social programs if they found themselves in hard times or what have you. James O'Keefe made an undercover video trying to get these people to say things that were offensive to the conservative sensibility, essentially. And like, how can I claim a deduction for having to take my hooker to the urgent care because I had to hit her a couple of times because she wouldn't listen? Like that sort, like
Right.
that level of
See,
offensiveness.
I might be able to answer that now.
And he became something of a darling of the weirdo conservative media types, and then got even weirder as time went on. Like, and this is part of a larger conversation about dudes getting swole, but he's kind of ripped now.
Oh, really?
Kind of like not quite ripped like Carrot Top, but like, how Carrot Top was just this skinny little weirdo, and then all of a sudden he shows up and he's like obviously been just mainlining HGH and steroids and stuff, and now he's fucking ripped to the gills and he's got a tiny little head.
Yeah, it's like this, yeah.
Similar thing with James O'Keefe. That dude has been spending some time in the gym and is fairly well jacked at this point. But that's beside the point. He's also been fucking weird and continued to do these undercover videos that are somehow, to me anyway, even more offensive. I'm not sure exactly. We'll get into why I find them offensive in just a minute, perhaps. What O'Keefe is doing now, he's no longer the original thing was called Project Veritas, and now it's much more tabloidy, and he's just rebranded as OMG or something like OM. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he's got a much trashier version of what he used to do. I mean, to say that it was not trashy to begin with is silly, but like at least the thing that he was doing was trashy, but maybe the presentation of it was more like concern trolling. Like, we
Right.
take this very seriously, and it's really quite disturbing that this is the sort of thing that we would be able to do just walking into a local community organization office or what have you. But now it's just full on like fucking goober MAGA troll type energy. So he's hiring people to go on dating apps and try to snag dates with people in various positions of authority. Whether it's somebody in the Biden White House last year that they convinced to go on a date. Like it was he got a guy, I think it was him actually. I think James O'Keefe himself was catfishing a homosexual employee of the Biden administration and went on a date and filmed him undercover and got him to say things that would be offensive to conservative sensibilities, that sort of thing.
He did do it. He got him to say disparaging things.
Yes, he did.
Did he get swole as a disguise?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know how many people are like looking out for James O'Keefe in a general sort of way. Like you wouldn't. It's not like he's.
I have no idea what he looks like.
Right.
I mean, I remember the dweebish guy from wearing the pimp stuff that he probably saw on Dave Chappelle on a skit.
Right.
But I don't know what he would look like all muscled
There could
up.
be someone named James O'Keefe that's a client of mine that I saw every 4 weeks, and I would not know who we're talking about.
Anyway, he hired this woman to go on this dating app and essentially catfished. I mean, just swiping, like trying to find a match
Right.
with an NFL employee, in this case, an employee in the media department of the Washington Commanders. And then you go on the date. And if you watch the video, and I won't play the video because it's first of all, it's presented in very annoying way with James O'Keefe himself narrating and being like preposterously and performatively offended by everything that's being said. And it's not clear to me exactly what he is offended by based on the thing that is being said. Like, whom exactly should be taking offense at the things that this person was saying? Also, it's worth noting that the way that the conversation unfolded, the guy obviously, I guess, is trying to get laid. Like this is a Hinge date. I think they matched on Hinge, and so he's just trying to impress this person sitting across the table from him long enough to hopefully go to bed with her. And so there's that aspect of it, but also his radar should have been up because she very much sounds like a journalist fishing for information and like trying to get him to repeat the thing that he just said, but to say it explicitly and with the correct subject, noun, verb agreement so that it doesn't look like she's cutting up the thing into incriminating things, but instead, like, why don't you go ahead and say that again, but as a whole sentence and include, just say Roger Goodell instead. Like, it wasn't that explicit, but you can hear her coaching this guy in the same way that you can hear Strassman or any other news reporter trying to coach the right answer out of the person sitting across the table from them, because they don't want you to just say yes. They want you to say the thing for yourself in your own words, and she's doing a good bit of that. And so it's weird to me that he doesn't like pick up on that, but maybe he picks up on it and he's like, yeah, but I'm just trying to get laid here, so like whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, some of the things that he said, and the game here, which I didn't make up because I assumed that you had seen it all, so wasn't going to do a whack shit or wacky shit. But the better game is sort of where's the lie? Like, what does he say in any of this that you can say is either not true or like arguably not true? Including the guy criticized NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell and Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. He called Goodell a $50 million puppet in the league's social justice efforts performative. He also said that Jerry Jones, of course, is the owner of the Cowboys. He believes that Jerry Jones hates gay people and black people. Now, would it surprise you, based on everything that you know about Jerry Jones, to find out that he doesn't care for homosexual people or black people?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
In fact, Binyam, co-host of the other podcast, he often likes to say that Jerry Jones runs something akin to a plantation. Yeah. So he has a reputation.
Right. He's got a reputation. It wouldn't surprise. And is this the first time we've heard that Roger Goodell is just a well-paid puppet who just does whatever the owners of the league? In fact, that's just literally the job.
Right. Yeah, that's the job. He takes the heat for the owners.
He also said about the players, he said at least half of them are out and out homophobes, that they don't care for homosexuals.
The other half are gay.
Because most of them, and he says the white ones all come from podunk nowhere and are fairly dumb. And then the African American players also come from a culture that is sort of inherently homophobic. Where's the lie? Is the culture homophobic or not at large? And the lower down the socioeconomic totem pole you go, does it get more or less homophobic? I think that the things that he's saying are largely true. He calls fans of the NFL high school educated alcoholics and mouth breathers. Once again, I ask the question.
Not nice.
Where's the lie, Abe?
It's not nice. I mean, if you look at all the commercials with the
high school educated is not so bad.
But like, look at all the commercials with the $80,000, $100,000 vehicles. I mean, they can't all be slack-jawed dummies, you know? I'm sure there's some well-to-do sort that watch football.
Yes, of course there are. But he's talking about the majority of...
Watching a Toyota ad now.
He describes his job as being...
I drive a Toyota.
He describes his job as being one where he just has to sell hope to people, even though there is no hope to be had. Where he's like, here's an example. One time at the stadium, we had a sewage pipe burst, and it just rained piss and shit all over our fans. And I had to go on our social media and be like, hey, don't worry, that's not piss and shit. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's cool. And this is the sort of anecdotes that he's telling. He's disparaging the fans. He's disparaging the players. He's disparaging ownership. He's disparaging management, all of these things. And the Commanders fired him today as a result of this going public.
Right. I think as silly as the reasons for it are, he should have been fired just by being this dumb, like not understanding like what's going on. Like, what was it, on his second date, and he's just saying all of these things.
Yeah, you can't talk shit.
Like, in which direction is his date going? What is the point of all of these? Like, he's going to get in bed with her because of, like, he made fun of the fans? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Also,
I'm sure in his contract somewhere it says you can't talk shit.
Right. But also, like, did they find out if this particular woman works for this OMG outfit, or... Because it sounds like almost like this is like a TMZ thing. Like, this is a brand, and if you happen to find information, like, or you record
No,
something that could be.
I do not believe that she just happened to be recording the date with this guy. This was a setup to begin with.
But okay, so if that's true, okay, remember the Iraq War? 20 some odd years ago. Remember when somebody came up with the playing cards, like the most wanted Iraqis, right? And they had a playing card, right? How many deck of cards would you have to go through to get to this fucking random guy?
Right.
Like, we need to target this random front office person. I don't even know what the angle is for this capture. Like, what? Like, so to me, it doesn't make sense if he was targeted. But on the other hand, you're right. Like, the way that they went about it, it seems targeted, right?
Right. No, it's entirely. So I agree with you that naturally he's going to be fired because this happened. This is a situation where there are no good actors at all. And actually he is the best actor in the entire scenario. He's just an unfortunate victim of circumstance, largely. Like, I feel bad for him that he was recorded in this fashion and then is going to lose his job because of it, because he didn't do anything wrong. He just did something sort of dumb.
I'm no lawyer, but did he have a cause to sue?
Not if it was
Like,
in
is
his
there something in
contract
his
that he couldn't
contract that
do
says,
something like this.
I mean, this is like ill-gotten gains that they're using to fire him on.
Yeah, I don't know what he would, if he has any standing against O'Keefe and OMG. I imagine that, like, he's not a newsworthy individual. There's nothing newsworthy about any of the things that he said is the thing that I keep coming back to. These are very commonly held beliefs, especially among a certain socioeconomic class, about the people who would be the rabble at an NFL game, right? Like, this is not an unusual thought to have, and it's not, to me, a terribly unusual thought to express. The real asshole here is very clearly O'Keefe and this woman who decided to target this absolute nobody in some bizarre new front on the culture war that, again, I can't even really figure out
neither can I.
Who is supposed to be offended by this besides Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones, who don't even really have a leg to stand on in terms of how they're feeling their offense, because they are, in fact, probably the sort of assholes that he's describing here. Like, he's not exactly speaking out of school. He probably knows as well as anybody that Jerry Jones is a homophobic racist. And he probably knows that Goodell is just a mouthpiece for the owners, because that's, like, again, we say that's just literally the job. And then the complaints about the fans don't strike me as completely out of bounds either. And the players, the players are, as he describes, some of them, like, it's this weird bifurcation among the players, like, because some of them are super bright, right? Some of them they went to college, they took advantage of the education, they can talk, they are smart and bright and good, and those guys all largely end up in media. And then there's a bunch of fucking dummies. Like a bunch of barely literate people who went to college for 3 years but didn't learn a goddamn thing. And, like, that's a fact. There's nothing to be offended about one way or the other.
They have a particular set of skills that happens to be worth millions, and it's like this athletic skill that can work.
And there's a reason why half of them are broke 2 years after they leave the league. And it's not because they're very fucking smart, right? It's because they're pretty fucking dumb, despite getting paid millions of dollars.
And homophobic.
Yeah, perhaps.
See, O'Keefe, you don't even need to do some underhanded thing. You can just listen to this podcast, and Bob can disparage the players and the fans.
But he doesn't work for the league.
That's right. They can't fire you.
That's the difference.
The thing that makes zero sense to me is, what is the right-wing angle on this? What is the part that they're so offended by? Unless it's just, I guess it's supposed to be revelatory of hypocrisy or something.
But, right. But he made so many different statements that, like, I'm sure if it is a right-wing kind of angle, like, I'm sure they probably take comfort in the fact that he's admitting that the Black Lives Matter stuff is all performance, like, which is what they probably think anyways, right? And the NFL is not even going to bother to defend that, right? It's like, let's not draw any attention to that reality. Like, they're not going to come out and say, that's not true, even though it is.
I mean, do you think they painted "end racism" in the end zone because they thought it was going to help end racism? Or did you, like, nobody thought that was, like, what is it? What even is it if it's not a performative thing?
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's literally, at least when you wear the pink armbands and the pink cleats on Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's like, in theory, the merch can be sold, and then the money goes to the Susan B. Anthony, whatever the fuck cancer donation thing is, right? Like, you can find a link to where some good might be achieved, but like painting end racism in the end zone isn't doing any of that.
Okay, but
Like,
this is supposed to be the kind of podcast where you don't get mad and yell.
I'm not mad.
No, look at the screen. Look at it. Look, you see what that looks like?
I'm allowed to speak loudly and with an authoritative
Yeah,
voice.
but you're getting upset, and this is supposed to be fun.
I imagine this speaks ill of this entire operation, that this is the best that they could do, right? Like, because you would want, I've never heard of OMG. If you want to make a big splash, you would want a better story, right? Like somebody like higher up saying something disparaging that's like very clean, like for one side against the other, like something you can use.
And all you've done is ruined one fucking mid-level functionary's life. That's the only thing that
Yeah,
you've
that's
accomplished. You fucking monster, James O'Keefe. What the fuck are you doing with yourself? Anyway,
Yes.
moving on. Kansas City, Missouri Chiefs superfan Xavier Babadar.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Taylor Swift there for a second.
Was sentenced to 17 and a half years in prison without parole
Yeah.
and three years of supervised release Thursday for committing a string of armed bank robberies across the United States. Abe, this is the guy who used to show up at Chiefs games in a wolf costume in suspiciously good seats and cheer on his team. As it turns out, he was funding his Chiefs superfan adventures by literally robbing banks at gunpoint in order to pay for the tickets and the travel. And now he's going to prison for nearly 20 years.
That's quite the addiction, right? Like, I mean, at least that's what he blamed it on. Like, he took responsibility for whatever, and he said that he had like a severe addiction to gambling, and to support this addiction, he would have to, regrettably, have to rob banks over like 7 different states. And he sometimes hit. Like, in the article that I read, like, there was one bet that he won like $100,000, but like, I guess he did not win enough. He should have just run away somewhere.
Yeah. All right. I have nothing else to say about that. I was just amused by that story and being reminded of it.
He was made to forfeit an autographed Patrick Mahomes painting. Like, was that necessary? Couldn't his lawyer, like, at least fight for that? I mean, 17 years is a pretty good
17
punishment.
and a half years.
Yeah, that's, I mean, some restitution money. All of that is fine, fair. Let me have the autograph. Come on. What's the big deal?
He needs to hang the autographed Mahomes poster in the prison so that he has a place behind the poster to dig his Shawshank tunnel out of federal lockup.
With the wolf costume
right.
clause.
That's right, with his wolf costume clause. Very good. All right. Last thing in the WJS news bag is just a brief note that it has been 15 years since LeGarrette Blount.
You needed to look that up? I've been thinking about it all day.
It has been 15 years as of yesterday, the 4th, since LeGarrette Blount, running back for the University of Oregon, punched that Boise State asshole right in the chin and knocked him right the fuck out. Do you remember the video of this, Abe?
Of
I
course
recall.
you do.
Yes.
If you
What
look
year
at
was
all
that,
of
Bob?
like, I know there's a way to do this. I'm not going to do it. Of like my most viewed YouTube videos, it's probably in the top 10.
Yeah.
Like I looked that and the guy explaining to the reporter what a rebound is. Like those two are way up there with like videos I watch yearly.
I watched it again today, and the commentary, the people doing the call are obviously quite offended at what's going on here and talking about how it was completely uncalled for, et cetera, et cetera.
He should go to jail.
He should be suspended. Right. And if I'm Chip Kelly, he's suspended this week and next week, and I don't even know if he's on the team moving forward after this disgusting display on the field. And to be fair, it did look quite awful when you see it. It's like the guy sort of jovially taps LeGarrette Blount on the arm and says something to him with a big old smile on his face, and then turns away, and the coach is trying to pull him away. So, like, you know that, like,
This kid, like LeGarrette Blount, clearly has anger problems.
Well, that sounds a little bit racist, Lori.
No,
He's just
I mean, you can tell
he's just
because
dejected after a tough loss.
Well, but also, like, he'd had problems before and after. So, like, the coaches know, like, this is not a guy we need interacting with people.
Well, regardless, LeGarrette turns around and clocks him right in the chin and knocks
It's so
him over.
fucking funny.
A terrific moment in sports history 15 years ago this week. For what it's worth,
They're playing again this weekend.
I then looked up to see if any further conversation had happened about what, like Brody Hote or like whatever the dude's name, a very white
Boise
sounding
State
name.
quarterback.
He's not a quarterback. He was like a.
Oh, he wasn't? I thought he was the
He
quarterback.
was a bigger sized dude, wasn't he? He wasn't.
The white guy?
Yeah.
He has the face
His name
of
was
a quarterback.
Byron. That's a very actually not white sounding name. My
Yeah, I know.
apologies, but his name was Byron Hout, H-O-U-T. Destined to go down in college football history as that guy who got punched by LeGarrette Blount in 2009. Blount at the time simply said that they had spent like a whole year talking about trying to get back at Boise State because they'd lost to them the year before, and like we're gonna whoop their ass, this sort of thing. Like it was a central focus of the team that coming into the opening weekend of the college football season, they were going to get retribution on the Boise State Broncos by winning the football game, and instead they got their asses kicked again. And the guy, the way that it was described in the immediate aftermath is that guy was just rubbing it in. Like, who's going to kick whose asses there, fella, was the sort of comment that was made, and Blount didn't like it and turned around and clocked the guy.
I see.
Years later, Blount would suggest that, in fact, it was more personal than that, that it was perhaps something that he wouldn't even be willing to repeat, but something that offended him on a level that he didn't have any choice but to respond to, and he left it at that. And then, recently, relatively speaking, he was on some podcast somewhere, and he said that Mr. Byron Hout used the N-word, the slur, the worst slur of all, when he said, "How'd you like this N-word whooping?" Or as opposed to ass whooping, or we whooped that ass.
I see.
We whooped that ass N-word, or we whooped that N-word ass, or something like that, right? Like,
Okay.
And I'm choosing not to say it in this particular moment. I'm not sure why. Sometimes I say it,
Because it's
sometimes I
polite
don't.
not
It's
to. You can
polite
just
not
keep
to,
it up.
yeah.
It's fine.
But regardless, the implication now, some many years later, is that LeGarrette was responding to a highly racialized provocation, and perhaps that recolors, for lack of a better expression, the way that we understand what happened back in 2009.
I mean, no questions asked from me because it was funny. And I don't
you would
think punching people is funny, but that was funny.
Right. You would think that that information would have come out in the immediate aftermath, because like wasn't there like like you were saying the broadcaster huffing and puffing, like maybe there was other huffing and puffing going on,
but in
It was a different time.
In 2009, would
There we go.
that have been as quick to be?
Nope.
Hey, this guy called me this fucking thing. Like that, like maybe not. I think
Nope.
now when the loser volleyball team or whatever goes to BYU and starts blaming the crowd for chanting the N-word at him or what have you, like it would happen now for sure, right? Like that would be the first thing that happened in the press conference after the game, is he would say, "Well, look, I'm not proud of how I reacted, but you got to understand what he said to me, and it was the N-word, and it was bad." Like that would happen now for sure. I'm not positive that is what is likely or most likely to have happened back in 2009.
I think that if that happened and if that would have been explained that way, people would have been like, whatever. He probably didn't. Yeah, like it would have been not treated the way it's treated now.
What I don't like about it is that it is 15 full years later, or whenever they recorded this podcast later, and now it's like people are going to be knocking on Byron Hout's door like, "Hey, did you do this terrible thing fucking when you were like 20?
Right.
And how do you feel about that now?"
And 15 years on, you think you're in the clear, right?
That's right.
Like,
I got away with it. Yeah.
I mean, he didn't get away with it. He got cold cocked.
He got punched in the jaw.
Yeah, maybe LeGarrette just thought at the time, well, I mean, that's the cost
We're even,
of
yeah.
cost of doing business. He got what was coming coming to him. There's no need to further tarnish the reputation at this point.
Yeah, the transaction was complete immediately.
That's right. Transaction complete. Very good. All right, moving on here. Let's zip up the WGAS sports bag. I want to do quickly the best college game in every time slot. This is to help you.
Oh, I have a spreadsheet for that.
This is to help you with your Saturday viewing if you are, like us, planning on spending the day watching college football.
Do you have my spreadsheet open?
No, I didn't need it.
Oh, but it's so pretty.
I have determined, in my opinion, what the best game in every time slot is. And if you are true psychos like us and have a second television at your disposal, what the second game is that you should put on at the exact same time. So at noon, you have finally, the 3-hour-long college game day has mercifully come to a close.
You don't have to watch it.
Pat McAfee has removed his last button-down shirt of the day. There are no more Pat McAfee nipples to be encountered awkwardly while Nick Saban looks on in horror off to his side. And the answer, of course, is Texas at Michigan at noon. There's no better game in the entire day, and it's a noon kickoff in Ann Arbor.
Depends on what you mean by better.
Did something? Why the noon window all of a sudden? Like,
Big
why is it
noon
such a popular?
kickoff.
Yes, so both ESPN and FS1 are going to be in Michigan, Ann Arbor. But like last week, the Georgia game was a nooner. This is a noon game. Like
Last week, the Georgia game was not the big game.
Right, but I'm noticing that last year there was also a few games that they have it at noon. Is there some? Did they do some study that says like people are ready?
Fox big noon kickoff.
Right. Again, but there's a lot of big noon games that it's not tied to FS1.
Abe, you're not wrong here. My theory is that they're trying to spread the wealth a little bit. That it's they've probably noticed that 3:30 game is quite lucrative, that 8 o'clock game is quite lucrative. But why play a 7:30 game on ESPN2 and an 8 o'clock game on ABC if you can, in fact, separate those two and catch a 3 or 4 or 5 million person audience at noon, in addition to catching a 5 million person audience on the other networks at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, right? I think that's probably right. That they know
Fox big 7:30 kickoff doesn't sound as good.
Sure, but people are gonna tune in for that game if it's a big game, no matter what. You put the big game of the day or one of the 2 or 3 best games of the day in that noon slot, you're gonna draw eyeballs to the early slot. And I think that's what they're doing. Second TV for the nooner, Georgia Tech at Syracuse. I think a sneaky good game.
ACC network.
Sneaky good game. Georgia Tech at Syracuse. We got to find out if Tech is any good. All we know so far is that they beat Florida State, who sucks, and they beat Georgia Southern, was it? Or who did they play?
Yeah, Georgia State.
Georgia State. And Syracuse, I think, looked good in week 1. I'm not sure who they played, but I think that could be a fun game as well.
We're all rooting for Fran Brown anyway.
Looks like the Chiefs are about to go up 10-7 in the beginning of the second quarter. Just to update that. All right, moving on. The 3:30 game.
We're going to be watching Georgia.
We're going to be watching Georgia because that game starts at 2. That's Tennessee Tech at the Dogs. But who fucking cares? That game's going to be pointless.
I care.
Iowa State at Iowa could be a very fun game. Iowa put up 40 points last weekend, Abe. Iowa, of all teams,
Wow.
put up 40 points. And that should be a fun game. Iowa State at Iowa. On the second TV, you've got Cal that had a close game
ACC.
in Hawaii last week, I should say, but prevailed, traveling to Auburn. And Auburn, of course, won very big last week, but probably sucks. So I think that's a good second TV kind of game. Cal
Also,
at Auburn.
South Carolina at Kentucky. We're going to be switching back and forth.
Yes, that'll be the 3:30 window is going to be one game on the big TV and then the quad box somewhere else because there's actually a good bit of other 3:30 afternoon games. We'll have Georgia on the big TV and then a good quad box going, I'm sure. 7:30, dinner's over. You've packed away the snacks. It's time to open the alcohol and get started on your evening. Colorado at Nebraska. Don't just open the alcohol. Get the alcohol out and get the gambling app going because everybody wants to bet on Deion Sanders. And Colorado at Nebraska should be a lot of fun. This is a game with a lot of bad blood, Abe, that goes back years, but especially goes back 1 year because Matt Rule, who's the try-hard coach of Nebraska, is going up against Deion Sanders, the relentless self-promoter. And you've got, what's the kid's name? Dylan Raiola or
Dylan
something?
Raiola is the new quarterback at Nebraska.
Who turned down an offer to go to Georgia and I believe also Ohio State. I think he had family connections.
Yes, his dad played there, and I think his uncle coaches there
to
or
Nebraska.
something.
There's no chance Colorado wins this game, right? I mean, I didn't pick
there's
it,
a
but,
chance Colorado wins this game.
It's a weird fucking
what's
game.
This math?
It's 7.5 points. We'll get to it. We'll get to the picks in a minute. I've got it.
There's a huge chance.
I've got it in my
0.
picks. We'll get to that in a minute.
I'll tell you what chance, actually. I'll find it.
All right. Second TV at that time should be Tennessee at NC State, just to kind of keep an eye on what Tennessee is up to and if they are, in fact, as good as they looked last week. NC State should be like a mid-range ACC team that Tennessee should handle fairly easily, but that could be an entertaining game. It's not at Tennessee. I don't know if it's at NC State or if it's at a neutral site.
There is a 39.6% chance that Colorado wins that game, supposedly.
I'm rounding down.
Made that shit up.
Well, yeah, it's all made up.
Duke's Mayo Classic.
Is that what Tennessee NC State
Nice.
is?
Yes.
Where is it being played?
Charlotte.
In Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium, where the Panthers play.
Jesus, the Duke's Mayo Classic. I've been told, according to the internet, for some reason in the last week, I've gotten multiple, your favorite Food Network star, so-and-so, has a favorite mayo, and you have to click here to find the fuck out what it is. And it's always Duke's Mayo.
No, it's not. They're lying. They
I mean,
paid
it
them
is.
to say that. They paid them to say that. It's fine.
They like the extra kick or something, the vinegary kick.
I could be wrong, but when I was shopping for mayonnaise like a year ago,
I remember
I think
this.
it was Duke. Mayo is the one that lady told me, like, this is what you need to get. Like, unprompted, just like, hey, this is what you need to get.
Yeah,
and
she's
so maybe
wrong.
Yeah, she was wrong, but like she was very confident in her position.
Yeah, no, Hellman's Light is the way to go.
It's delicious.
That's
I want some.
That's the only mayonnaise in this household.
No classic. I don't think they don't have enough money for a classic.
This is not.
No, there's a Hellman's regular.
This is not sponsored content, by the way. Although it could be Hellman's if you want to reach out. Surely I haven't said anything so far. I even said N-word instead of the actual word.
Yeah,
so
you've
Hellman's,
done good today. You got a little.
Hellman's can cut
cranky,
us a check, I
but
think.
we're not done with time slots.
10 o'clock, last time slot of the day. You've just witnessed Colorado break my heart in the 7:30 time slot and cost me $50. At 10 o'clock, flip over to Boise State at Oregon. That is the main game to watch at that point. That involves two of my predicted playoff teams, and it'll be an interesting question.
And it's the anniversary of the Sucker Punch.
That's right. It's the 15-year anniversary of the
15th
LeGarrette
anniversary. 15-year anniversary is redundant.
Forgive me, of the punch. Boise State, I think it's like 18.5 points or something. So it'll be interesting to see how close they can keep it, and certainly if they win outright, that would be quite something.
There's also Liberty at New Mexico State.
Nobody cares about that. The second TV is Utah State at USC, which
That doesn't start until 11.
But we're not calling that a whole second time slot. That's just
Okay, but Liberty at New Mexico State is starting at 10.
sure. You can watch Liberty run up the score in the first hour and then switch over to Utah State at USC.
We'll see.
For your nightcap. I love the 10:30 or later
Oh, it's the fucking best.
Pac-10 kick, which is what it should always have been. Like back when the Pac-10 was a thing, that 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock kick, sometimes featuring Hawaii, should be the end of the night every night, and it's awesome.
That was their gimmick, right? Like
Pac-12 after dark.
Pac-12 after dark, and now like some of those Pac-12 teams are in the Big Ten, and they're going to be featured in the big noon game, and which is 9 a.m. out west. So the weird.
That's what they
turnabout.
get for living on the West Coast.
Right.
All right, we are going to quickly talk about the sports adjacent question of the week. This week comes from yours truly. It's a very personal question, something that I think we're all going to have to deal with in our own way as we progress through the football season. A headline at the Athletic this week: how Tom Brady prepared for his Fox NFL broadcasting debut. It will surprise no one that he has done a lot of try-hard nonsense, relentless reps. He's taking the crew out for lavish dinners. He's being extra good to the little man at every step of the way, doing dry runs of games with just him and Kevin Burkhardt just sort of call in games without anybody else there except a producer in his ear, so he can get feedback, constructive feedback. He's highly coachable. He's working hard. He wants to be the best. Abe, what are we going to do if Tom Brady is good at his job?
I am expecting him to be good at his job. And actually, if he knocks it out of the park, he should run for office in like 10, 15 years. I mean, this guy is very polished. I mean, he needs to do something about his weird Botox, but like he does prep work. You know, he has a good presence. Like, I think he'll do a good job. I don't see any faults in his anything that he said. I mean, he'll probably be very critical of quarterbacks. That seems to be his thing. Like, he's been doing that for some time, and he's got the gravitas to do it. So
first of all, he has no gravitas. You're confusing.
Yeah.
You're confusing
Using popularity.
a lot of success and ability and skill at the quarterback position with gravitas. That he has the appropriate authority to be critical of those at the quarterback position. He has none of the gravitas. First of all, he's got a shitty voice for the broadcast booth. He's sort of high-pitched. He's a little bit whiny in that Midwesterny sort of way. He doesn't have a great voice. None of the gravitas. You're wrong about that. Lori,
to be fair, Tony Romo also doesn't have a conventional voice either, and that worked out pretty well.
Sure, but he's very excitable and dopey and fun. I don't know that Tom Brady is those things. Lori, my question to you is it possible that Tom Brady will be good at this job?
I have given Tom Brady more thought and energy than I should have, and so I refuse to answer this.
I'm legitimately worried two things. One, that he will be good at this job and I will recognize it. But two, that he will be good at this job and I won't recognize it.
That's probably more likely.
My hatred, my inborn hatred for Tom Brady will cloud my ability to determine whether or not he is, objectively speaking, good at his job. And the $370 million or what have you that he's being paid to do it. I don't see how he can possibly live up to that number no matter what.
What is the job? He'll be like calling games?
He's the number one color analyst for Fox. So the big Fox kickoff, the 4:30.
That Troy Aikman,
the problem with
Joe
him is
Buck
his face.
slot.
And if I don't have to look at his face very much, then it's not going to bother me.
The booth cam is going to be on fire at the beginning,
but I don't
certainly.
really
There's going to be a
watch
lot of booth
NFL.
cam.
Right. And he may do some diagramming and stuff. I mean, you know, that contract that he had like a gap year, right? Like he signed it like a year prior. Like he took a year off. And that reflects the confidence everyone has in him. Like he is like a can't miss prospect when it comes to this. Like he's going to be very good.
I'm gonna take the under on very good. I'm going to say he, in fact, will not be any good at this job.
That's the thing. I won't know if he's good. I won't know because none of them are good. They should all just shut up. I mean, most of the time.
Some of them are pretty good.
But most of the time, it would be better if they just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So even the best at their job is still like, shut up.
All right, it's time for the CIB Pick'em game. Abe, you go first.
All right, so I'm trying this strategy that may backfire. Last week, I started off pretty weak. 2 correct picks, 3 wrong picks. One of them, there should be some sort of negative point system. I'm not saying we should enforce it this year, but like a double-digit favorite losing by double digits, there should be some sort of category of its own of like, you fucked that up so much.
Are you suggesting that I should be further penalized for my Virginia Tech pick?
He is.
Oh, I was talking. Oh, you also had a double reverse because I had Florida State to cover like 16.5, and they lost by double digits. They went the other way, but it's fine. No points.
That's too complicated.
Yeah, it is too complicated. My strategy is I'm picking games based on my viewing habit. Like the games that I'm gonna watch, I'm not gonna watch all these windows we talked about earlier. I'm not gonna watch all these games.
You've got a life to live. You're a young,
a lot of volleyball to watch. You know,
happening social single man out there on the town, stuff to do. Volleyball to watch.
After watching all the Jesus Save signs at college game day, I'm going to tune into the big game of the week, Texas, Michigan. Texas cannot possibly lose this game. I'm going to take the 7.5. They're going to cover. Not only are they going to win.
Pause. If they're going to police the content of signs at College Game Day, right? Like, because they stop people from doing any personal brand work. They stop people from being like personally insulting to individuals for the most part. Like there are a number of signs that are either disallowed or get taken down the moment that they go up. And we're talking about, if you don't know, College Game Day is traditionally a television show that's presented on campus, and they get a big crowd behind the stage of the College Game Day set, and the 2,000 people or whatever back there hold these signs, and they just say various things. And this year, and I think probably last year also, but I feel like this is a relatively new phenomenon, but every single week there are proselytizing Christian signs in the background.
Very large.
Right.
Very
Enormous.
large.
And why can't they shut that shit down in addition to the rest of it? Why can't they simply say, we will not have proselytizing signs in the background of College Game Day? This is not the time nor the place for such things.
The woke trans...
Right. Yeah. Also, Bob, your favorite expression, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like it would be so much blowback that it's not worth the effort. Just leave it be. Let the people talk about their Jesus. Anyways, Texas 7.5, Ole Miss 41.5 against Middle Tennessee. I learned if you can beat Furman, you can beat a lot of teams. I was wrong about that whole Furman thing last week, so I'm correcting that. And so I'm not picking anything else in college football. Those are my two college games. Going to the Sunday games, easy. You know, the NFL is very easy to predict.
Oh, yes. Traditionally, yes. Very easy to pick NFL games against the spread.
I think the Falcons are going to do well, and they're going to be against, like, shitty quarterback play against the Steelers. So Falcons 3.5.
Abe, have you gotten a sneak peek at the Jimmy Carter presidential lock of the week live from Plains?
No. Me and Jimmy are not on speaking terms, so he talks to you, but not to me for some reason. So yeah, Falcons 3.5, Bengals, who are going to be the Super Bowl winner, 8.5 against the
Joe
Patriots,
Burrow.
who are awful, just awful. It should be like 20 points. The
Patriots have announced that Jacoby Brissett is going to be the starting quarterback.
Oh, you know.
Jesus.
Yes, who played for the Colts not too long ago. And speaking of which, this is going to be the game I'm going to be watching at 1 on Sunday. Texans versus Colts. The Colts have not won a Week 1 matchup in 10 years. This is the 11th attempt.
Wow.
The 11th.
That can't possibly be true. They're 0-10 in opening games.
They're 0-9-1. They had a tie a couple of years ago with Matt Ryan.
Wow.
But they have not won once since 2013. And I think that streak will continue. I'm going to go with the Texans. I'm going to take the 3 points, or they're favorites by 3.
This feels like you're trying to buy the win here with
I am definitely buying the win, but I don't want to, because I'm like everything is in alignment. This is the first time since Andrew Luck that has left that the Colts have a quarterback starting in back-to-back years. Richardson started last year, and he's starting this year, but still. It's the 11th game. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm going to pick the Texans, but I am definitely buying the win.
Gotcha. All right. Real quick, I'll run through Steve's picks. Listener Steve has sent in his picks as well. I appreciate that, Steve. He's got Penn State minus 34.5, Kansas minus 5.5, Tennessee minus 7.5, Oklahoma minus 29.5, and then Colorado plus the 7 and a hook there.
So this is a good opportunity to chime in here. Question. So I was looking at Tennessee earlier this week, and it was 7.5. And then today I was like, I'm confident about Tennessee winning, and now it's 10. So like, what is the rule with our pick? I'm like, when you make the selection is when you lock in. Like, is it 10 now? Like, if it's 10,
it's at the time that FanDuel, like you as you lock in whatever FanDuel says at that moment, though you're placing the bet then. I will not be adjusting the lines as kickoff approaches just because
when Bob makes the spreadsheet.
Right. When the number moves, then the number moves. It's fine. But once you lock in, that's your number.
So, like, if I had picked Tennessee today, I would have to take it at 10?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I disagree, Laura.
Well, but you said 7.5 on yours.
But it was 7.5.
It was 7.5, yeah.
And also, by the way, what happened? Like, what? I mean, it's the same information as like Tuesday. Why is it? It's
I don't know, but I
2.5
wish
points.
I wish I had fucking made a bet a few days ago on Tennessee minus the 7.5, obviously. But yeah, also the second clarification is that you can bet NFL games as well now that the NFL games have started with the same provisos in the rest of our game, which of course is against the spread. You're getting 5 points. If you're betting straight up favorite, you're only getting 2 points. If you're betting an underdog outright, then you're getting 10 points, and a double-digit underdog outright, then you are getting 20 points. All right, Lori, go.
Why don't you go?
All right, I'll go. I've got Texas minus the 7.5. Feel quite confident about that for some reason. I don't think Michigan stands a chance. Oklahoma State is playing at home against Arkansas and laying 7.5 points. I've got Oklahoma State as the home favorite, covering that number. I want Syracuse as a home underdog to outright win against Georgia Tech, which will be one of my 10-point games. I've also got Nevada playing Georgia Southern's got to go all the way across the country to Nevada. Southern is a 1.5-point favorite. I will take the home underdog once again. No points, just outright. Give me Nevada to win against Georgia Southern. And then my fifth game is that Colorado at Nebraska. I've got Nebraska minus the 7.5. I do not think that that shitty-ass Colorado team that's got like 3 awesome players is going to be able to keep it that close against Nebraska. I think Raiola is quite good, and that it will be scary as shit because Shador and Travis Hunter will be slinging it all over the goddamn field and probably scoring some surprising and late touchdowns, and I might get fucked by a late cover here, but whatever. I've got Nebraska minus 7.5.
So you have
Opposite.
poor Georgia Tech, just 1 week in the top 25. I mean, you can't let them enjoy it beyond just 1 week.
It's not up to him.
Oh, it is up to him. He has banished them. Like, they're going to lose.
I looked at that schedule, and I didn't think that Tech had 5.5 wins on that schedule, even after beating FSU. So, yeah, they're going to lose to Syracuse.
It's just exciting. They have a new coach. First ACC game with the new coach. That's exciting.
Yeah,
and he went to Georgia. He's a Georgia guy. Fran Brown. He wants to beat Tech more than anybody.
My buddy Brian's wife, Steve's cousin wife, went to Syracuse. So
my
how can I
client
do
Jeff
anything
went
but?
to Syracuse.
Oh, yeah? Maybe they knew each other.
I don't think so.
Syracuse a journalism school?
I think so, right? Because they pushed out a whole bunch of people to ESPN. I think they're supposed to have a good broadcast journalism school there. Anyway, all right, Lori, do your games.
All right, I hate this game so much. What did I think?
Well, with that attitude, no wonder you're losing.
I don't care. Okay, Iowa. What does this mean?
It means Iowa minus 2.5. You're taking Iowa and laying the points.
Okay. Tennessee, same as Steve. I think Tennessee will win by more than a touchdown and a half.
Yeah.
Because I think they're really good. I'm saying Oregon is going to... What am I saying?
You're saying that Boise State...
This is why I put what I think.
At the end of the game, you add 18.5 points to whatever Boise State has, that will be more than what Oregon has, is
so
what
I
you're
think
saying.
Oregon will win by less than 18.5 points?
No, you're saying that if at the end of the game you add 18.5 points to Boise State's score, it will exceed whatever Oregon's score is.
Okay, whatever.
Whether they've already won the game or not. That is what you're saying.
Sure. I thought that this morning, I guess. I am hopeful that UVA will beat Wake Forest. Wake Forest only being favored by 2.5 points makes me think that UVA might actually win.
Yeah, Lori's got a 10-point game here. She's got UVA outright as a 2.5-point dog.
And then the most important game of the week, obviously, is Florida International University's debut as Pitbull Stadium against the Central Michigan Chippewas. And I think with the Pitbull energy, there is no way they lose.
A 6.5-point dog. Lori's taking FIU outright.
Well, you can have a monster week, Lori.
I don't know what any of this is. But you should play the song now. Can you play the song now?
I will play it in the edit. I'm not playing it right now.
All right, I'll just listen to it.
You know what spreads
Go for it.
faster than any virus? It's fear. And when it comes to fear, you can either forget everything and run, I say or you can face everything and rise. I believe. And let me tell you what I believe. I believe that. I believe we gon' face everything. I believe that we will win. Hear you say it. It's not how you fall.
All right. That's the end of the CIB Pick'em contest. We will update the scores on Monday, I'm sure. But before we wrap up for the evening, of course, it is time for my favorite part of the show. It is time to find out what Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter, thinks is going to happen this weekend. Jimmy Carter, of course, is 1-0. He picked the Dogs last week. Not sure where the president is going this week, but we go now live to Plains, Georgia. The president's staying up late tonight to join us and give his lock of the week.
Hello to my dear friends at Cast Iron Balls, and also to Eve. We are in for a cloudy and rainy weekend here in Plains, but let's not let the dreariness of the weather outside impact the exuberance of spirit that can be obtained by placing a few dollars on the big game. Though you might watch a game from death's door, your consciousness trapped in the eternal abyss of nothingness, while occasionally fluttering into a vague and insubstantial dream of self-awareness, like I do. I've long admired the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, Coach Mike Tomlin. He's currently the longest-serving NFL head coach, and he's a good Christian man who married his college sweetie. However, my heart is troubled for Coach Tomlin. I believe that the Steelers front office is ready to move on, but cannot justify parting ways with such a popular and widely respected figure. Instead of simply firing him and taking the heat, the Steelers have 4 years now saddled Coach Tomlin with absolute mediocrities at the quarterback position. Last year was mostly Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, and Coach Tomlin still managed to drag those bums to a 10-win season. Not to be deterred, the Steelers front office went and got Weirdo Gatorade enthusiast Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in the off-season, both of whom were simply terrible players. The only explanation is intentional sabotage from within, from the very top, from the C-suite specifically. While I still fully believe in Coach Tomlin, management, manufacturing, and quarterback controversy between those subpar players is a recipe for a disastrous season. No matter which way he turns, Coach Tomlin is quite well-fucked. The truth is he ain't not walking through that door. That's why my beloved Atlanta Falcons are 3.5 points favorite at home against the Steelers this Sunday on my pick of the week. Rise up. Enjoy the games with good food and drink, and of course, good company. May God bless this great nation and this great podcast. So long. Until next week, this is Jimmy from Plains for Cast Iron Balls.
It's remarkable the vast knowledge almost 100-year-old Jimmy Carter has. College football 1 week,
Well, how do you think he's been
NFL the
alive
other
this
week.
long? He knows a lot.
He's staying engaged with the culture. He knows the ins and outs of the quarterback room in Chicago and in Pittsburgh now. Good luck, those of you out there trying to get President Jimmy Carter to pronounce Mitch Trubisky. I'm not saying that one way or another how it happened, but it ain't easy. I did appreciate Jimmy letting us know that Mitch Trubisky ain't walking through that door. I've got no quibbles with the president's pick there, and in fact, I'm going to make sure that we get some money down on that. Yeah. Although, I will say, when you so confidently came out and said that this was your pick as well, I felt much less confident.
Oh, that's right.
You and Jimmy are like this.
I do not inspire confidence.
No, not in the way that the president does. But because Jimmy Carter's saying that it's going to be fine, I think we'll get some money down on that game.
One of the top headlines on ESPN right now is that Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson is dealing with calf issues again. So, maybe they're going to put in the former Georgia great Justin Fields who's not very good.
No,
Either way.
Not very good.
Former Georgia, all right.
Former Georgia, pretty good. All right. Thanks to Jimmy for calling in and giving us his lock of the week. I think that's all we've got, so we will move into the end game here. You've been listening to Cast Iron Balls, a podcast about sports with Bob and Abe and Lori too. You can find us at Substack, brainiron.substack.com, where you can join the community there and comment on the show. Feel free, by the way, if you enjoy what we're doing here, to share it with friends and family. We try to be less deliberately offensive on this show. And then you warm them up with a little sports talk, this sort of silliness, and then they can deal with what we do in
Or
cast
not.
iron brains. Yeah, or not. Or they could just not.
What the fuck is happening upstairs?
It sounds like the dog is yelling at something and the kids are moving around the house trying to deal with the dog, probably.
I'm worried there's someone trying to get in our house.
I doubt that highly. The opening and closing themes of the show were composed by Mark Gillig, tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com. For more from Mark. Abe, have you got anything else you would like to share about sports or sports-related media or content this week?
So I listened to Josh Pate's college football show.
Yes.
I listened to I guess he's got multiple episodes. The Tuesday episode, and then like the one, Lori, that you referenced last week, the 14 minutes, like who is Josh Pate?
His little rundown of his little
It took
thing.
two viewings for YouTube to think like, oh, this guy you must love college football stuff, because like now it's like everything is now like other Josh Pate types that they want me to listen to. I liked it. I mean, you had expressed some reservations about like you don't like him, but like to me,
I don't like him, but anyway. Yes, you talk.
So I found them pretty good. I don't know if I have like a bias towards dudes with receding hairlines. They seem trustworthy.
Receding. It's completely bald.
Abe, do you think that you have a receding hairline at the moment?
It has receded. The process is complete on my end, but it's still in progress on his end, right? It's still receding.
No.
It's receded very
he's
far.
He's very bald.
No. There's hair like halfway through. Anyways, I think he did a very good job of talking college football. I haven't grown tired of him. Just two viewings in, I'll keep up with it. I'm not watching all three of his shows. But like before we do this on Thursdays, I'll probably listen to him to see what he says. He was pretty confident in the Texas game.
Confident is exactly what he is.
Yes. Oh yeah, he's very confident. Also,
very confident.
In that 14-minute thing, like just as an aside, he's like, I like to storm chase. Like what?
Yes.
The thing
I
you do
like about him is that he is very into weather.
Yes. Bad weather. So he's like
but just weather in general. Like I'm like, okay, maybe you're not so bad.
Did he do videos about that? Did he do like a review of Twisters Part 2?
He did a review of Twister.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
Twisters.
This is plural.
All right, so Josh Pate gets the thumbs up from
the thumbs
Abe.
up. Yes.
Yeah, good.
All right. Did I say on the show that I found him to be a bit obnoxious and vaguely sort of like he's not unlike Street Preacher?
No, that's what I said. That's what I said.
Overbearing confidence and his commitment to.
Yes. Okay. I think that's actually what it is, and it's the way that he speaks confidently is the way that a church person speaks confidently. And that is dangerous because sometimes you can say things that are bad. And like when you have this sort of way about you, where it's like, oh, Josh Pate thinks it, so it must be true. Like that's a lot of power that a person holds. And like, fortunately, this is just sports he's talking about, but who knows when he's going to like turn on women. And it's just what I think he's going to do.
That's right. Is he a Christian-y sort?
Yeah.
Yeah, he get that vibe. I think he mentioned it also. I was going to pick Texas anyways, but his support for it put me over the top. If Texas were to lose...
It's like you shouldn't listen to him before you do your gambling. You should listen to him after.
Right. But yes, so if Texas were to lose, it's entirely Josh Pate's fault. It's not my fault.
It's not his fault.
It's entirely his fault. But
Sounds
so
like
far,
his
so
fault.
good.
That's not how it works.
Lori, have you got any sports-related content or media you would like to
Ari
share?
Wasserman is back with Andy Staples, so that's nice.
They're on the On3
On
network,
3,
I believe.
They talk every morning at 9:30 when I'm at work, so I can't listen then. But I don't want to. It's just nice to have a friend back.
Nice.
I was going to include this in the show at some point, but we didn't have time. I'll just point out that I visited a site that just told me who all of the starting quarterbacks were in the NFL this year, and was surprised to find out, for example, that Sam Darnold is the starting
Oh,
quarterback
the Darnold, of course.
for the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Why does he still have a job in
Well,
the National
they
Football League?
drafted J.J. McCarthy. Apparently, he had a pretty good camp.
There's no, I believe Sam Darnold has always been the answer to the question, what's going on with Sam Darnold? Oh, he had a pretty good camp. And then he turns out to be a fairly terrible NFL quarterback every single year after that. But all right, Sam Darnold filling in for J.J. McCarthy. I'm surprised that there's not someone else out there in the wider world who could be filling in for J.J. McCarthy. Geno Smith, I'm surprised once again, though I know that he's had a resurgence in Seattle the last few years, surprised to find out that Geno Smith is still the best option for the Seahawks out there in Seattle. Will Levis is going to be the Tennessee Titans starting quarterback. I'm surprised that he's getting that job right away. Gardner Minshew, apparently,
Nice.
still a starting quarterback in the National Football League, despite being terrible at that particular job.
Serviceable last year.
Bo Nix is going to be the starting
Okay.
quarterback for the Denver Broncos, much to my surprise. I did not think he was going to win that job outright. And then, this was not a surprise, but I'm still mystified that the New England Patriots have decided
Zeppo?
that Jacoby Brissett is going to
Oh.
be the starting quarterback for
There
their
is
team.
some sort of thinking that the Patriots are so putrid that they're basically sacrificing Brissett. Because, like, any quarterback that they may think has a future with the team, they don't want him to get hurt. So
Right, because they drafted Drake May.
Yeah, so they don't want to salvage Drake May for the future. They don't want him to be like, what was that guy from the Texans, the franchise? I forget his name, David whatever. But there was a quarterback who got sacked like 70, 80 times, and he was done for because he didn't have the protection.
Anyway, I'm excited about the NFL starting to some extent. I will say I'm much more excited about college football than I am the NFL, largely because I think
It's
the
more
Giants...
exciting.
The Giants are going to stink again this year because they lost Saquon Barkley and kept Daniel Jones.
I'm
And
not
that's what they
not
decided
excited.
to do.
I'm sort of I do like when Bob is watching the Giants and I'm in the other room not watching and all I hear is like, oh no, fuck. Like it's very, very funny when Bob is watching the Giants and I don't know what's happening, but I still do know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's a
You have enough
reliably
information.
demoralizing team to watch
It's
these
so
last
fun.
few years.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we've got. We'll be watching a bunch of football. Baseball playoff race is heating up here as we enter September. We've only got a little bit left of that season. Perhaps we will find the time in Cast Iron Balls to discuss some baseball stuff moving forward. But for now, Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
Well, I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later. By the way, scheduling note. A week from today, I'm going to be in D.C.
You're going to be in where? I lost you.
In D.C.
Oh. What
You
are you,
could- we live near there.
what are you doing in D.C. for work or for
Flying
pleasure?
to D.C. No, just like some friends were like, one person was there for like a work thing. It's like, I'm done on Thursday if anybody wants to come
Damn
up.
it,
And
this internet sucks
I think
tonight.
it's Abe's internet.
I think it's your internet tonight. Your
Because
internet
it's
sucks.
both of us, and you're plugged in, and I'm not.
But I can hear you the whole time. I guess
Yeah,
it's still-
well,
Oh, your download is good. Your upload just sucks.
Oh,
that's the problem.
there was just basically everything kind of worked together. Like I was off this week. I had like I need to burn days, and Delta had it for like $180 round trip to DC. So I'm
On the
like, oh.
fancy airline,
Nice.
no less.
Yeah, I don't have to be on Sprint or something.
So no this next week with Abe. It'll just be you and me.
Yeah, you guys can just do it straight up. I'll
What-
send my picks,
What?
like Jimmy Carter.
That'll be fun. I mean, we could record Wednesday, arguably.
No, we can't. We're busy. We could just do you and me.
Just
Yeah.
Bob and Lori podcast. It'd be so fucking weird.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It'll be weird.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll
We
do
could-
it nude, Abe. Maybe we can do a nudes
I
only
mean, I'll
podcast.
do it nude, but not with cameras.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy
I'll
the
be here on
games.
Monday.
We'll
Yeah.
talk to you.
All right.
Maybe she'll do it nude.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.